Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Hot Seat. We have a great treat for you. Unfortunately, my brand new, well, he's not so brand new, but my co host, who has been with me for the past few months or so, Taylor Made Speaks, got trapped at the people's job. So I told him he's got to get himself out of there. Anywho, we got some amazing panelists that will be hanging out with us on tonight. Jason Thibodeau is in the building.
What's going on?
Victoria, Victoria is also here, and the troublemaker is back. You guys haven't seen him in a while, but guess who's back? Michael Troublemaking Claiborne is in the
Yeah.
building. So you already know it's going to be some foolishness in here tonight. Needless to say, we're excited to be back in the building with each and every one of you. Hope y'all had a great day thus far. It's Tuesday. I thought it was Wednesday and I didn't do the show. So all day long, I kept saying to myself, is it Tuesday or is it Wednesday? And myself said, if you went to bed on time, you would know what day it is. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. So, with that being said, evidently it's Tuesday. All right. So, we're excited about the conversation. Last time on this segment, what we ended up leaving off on was information as it pertained to learning how to really date well after you dissolve a marriage. So, as you guys are coming in and our panelists, we ask that you guys all share on your personal platforms by going to my page and just clicking that share button. Unfortunately, the way social media has changed, it makes it more difficult for us to tag everyone into the segment when we go on. So, you have to physically go and click share so that others can participate in the dialogue because we want your communities to be here so that they can get a chance to not only see you on the segment, but build some new possible friendships, partnerships, you name it. From my show, we were able to publish 52 authors so far just from being on a talk show. So there's a whole lot of power in social media networking, and we want you guys to be able to take advantage of that. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get the party started. We're not going to wait tonight. We're going to go ahead and dive right into the conversation. So the last time that we were together, the week before last, we were talking about dating after you dissolve a marriage. Well, dating in itself is very challenging. I'll tell you why I say that. Because in most instances, most people are not willing to give themselves away for the greater good of the building blocks that are required to have a solid foundation. So, because of that, that's what makes dating challenging. So, you have to find yourself in the opposite energy, the person that you've become. If you're loyal, you'll find loyalty. If you're honest, you'll find honesty. If you're trustworthy, you'll find trustworthiness. So, whatever you are, the energy that you exude, it is magnetism. And what bounces off bounces back. And you have to realize that. So, things that you may have not considered or contemplating working on about yourself, you might want to consider that because what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself in another human and you're not going to like it. And because you're not going to like it, you're not going to want to be with that individual for an extended period of time because you don't like something about them, but the thing you don't like is what's housed in you. It's really not them. It's that magnetism that you're dealing with. So let's dive into it. Lady Victoria is actually, and hopefully her system will allow her to do so because she's actually going to spearhead the conversation on tonight. She asked an intriguing question in the chat, and I said, "Yeah, I'll digress, and you can definitely spearhead the conversation." But I'm not sure if her technology is behaving itself because she looks a little frozen right now. Lady Victoria, are you good with your technology? Because it looks a little frozen. Yeah, she's frozen. So I'm gonna get started. We're talking about the children now. Okay. We're talking about the children now. When it comes to dating, after you dissolve a marriage and there are tiny or not so tiny humans involved, then you have a whole new set of variables that you have to attack. Okay. You have to attack how long you want to wait before you introduce your children to the person that you're partnering with, where you want to introduce the children, to the person you are partnering with. Why do I want to introduce my children to the person I'm partnering with? And so on and so forth. So you got to be able to answer all of these questions before the introduction. So that way, within yourself, you'll have that peace and you'll say, "Okay, I'm good. I know when, where, why, how. I know I know all of the variables and the reasoning as to why I'm getting ready to do this thing that I'm choosing to do." From there, you have to run the risk of interference from them telling they other parent that my mama messing with Bill and I don't like Bill because Bill didn't and all this other foolishness. Okay, so you got to think about the fact that you're going to open up Pandora's box once you show those children and share with them that this is a new person that you're getting ready to build a partnership with. Okay. So it's going to be some pushback. I'm just telling you from experience. I've been doing this for longer than I care to admit, to be honest with you. I'm almost 50, so it's been a minute connecting with people and kind of helping them to pick up these blocks, these building blocks of relationships after dissolving a marriage. Um, the problem was the dissolved marriage, to be quite frank with you, because the children have residue from the dissolved marriage. And a lot of times, as adults, we really don't consider giving them just as much attention with the dissolution as we give ourselves. We don't really think about that. A lot of us don't. And that's not to suggest that some of us do or don't, but there are a lot of people who don't recognize the fact that you gotta invest just as much in them as you did in yourself. So I think Victoria, let me see if her technology is working. Yeah, because I know her system was giving her the blues for a little bit. It's still not working very well. Let's see if she can get back in. But in the interim, we're going to go ahead and get started with the conversation. I know that Claiborne has started a movement as far as supporting spouses in their quest to maintain their relationship. You know, I getting married is the easy part. Maintenance is more intentional. Give you a perfect example of maintenance in my truck this morning. Two things interestingly happened. The light went off saying, "Hey, guess what? Although you got this bougie oil in here, it's time for you to get it cleaned out." That's the first thing. And then secondly, it was 30 degrees this morning and I have no heat. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, how do I run out of heat in Texas? I could understand running out of air in Texas, but not running out of heat. So I don't have any heat in my truck. And I never thought about maintaining that element of the vehicle because I live in the South. Ha ha ha. Shame on me. That's what happens in relationships. We're reactive instead of responsible and proactive. If I had taken my vehicle when it was supposed to be serviced, then there's a strong possibility when they was in there ducking and diving and looking that they would have found that I need to do something with my heater. And then I would not have been in my truck chilling on the way wherever I was going. So I want to yield over to Michael Claiborne because he can kind of talk with us about this as far as the children are concerned. Although I did open up with a little bit about the adults involved in the equation, I want to talk about the children and how this affects them. And the fact that we're not really looking at it from a perspective of them being affected just as greatly, if not more, than we are. So Claiborne, good evening and welcome.
Hey, coffee. My favorite line. Can't nobody else use it but me. Um, it's interesting question that you hear because I think a lot of times while we're going through the divorce, the children are always, even though people say that they're the that you think about, it absolutely is not true. The children are usually the last people that you think about. And usually you don't think about them until they express their hurt. Now, here you go, you want to get into, so now they're dealing with that you probably never addressed. You probably only told them that mommy and daddy are no longer going to be together. You did not share with them as to what's the reason why. So now a lot of times they believe that sometimes they are the reason that y'all are getting divorced, and so sometimes that guilt hangs on them. You didn't discuss to them what was important. You got an attitude with the father, you got an attitude with the mother, but you did not discuss that the kid's going to have to be in between that. And so now you make the kids a pawn in the situation. And so you're mad with me, I'm mad with her, and what happens is you're not going to see your kids, or I don't want to see the kids if I got to deal with you. And so what happens is now these kids who used to be loved by both parents is in this tug of war. And what happens is now you're going to court, you're fighting again, fighting the kids instead of saying, wait a minute, that's the father, I am the mother, or vice versa. And we have got to involve the kids into this situation, not from a negative, but rarely, Koffe, do I ever hear people come from a mature position. This is not about me, because now my kids are going to have to deal with two parents, two families, so on and so forth. It doesn't matter if I think that Koffe, that you're not a good girlfriend or a good wife. Doesn't mean you're not a good mother, and no one ever thinks about that. And so you may be. So we fight the kids, and now here again, I'm trying to deal with that. I'm trying to get over it. Depends on how fast some people get in relationships. I know people who jump right into a relationship. I mean, so the child is like in shock mode because it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Mommy was loving on daddy, and now who's this other guy? And he's Uncle so and so, because you don't want me to call him your boyfriend, and that he's an uncle. But then the person, who's this new guy? Because he's an uncle, and it's like, what in the world is going on? Or don't let it be that they love one parent. If they love their father, as soon as you bring a man around, it don't matter. This could be the greatest man in the world. If they love their father, it's going to always be an issue, especially if you don't have conversation. He is not here to take over the space. I'm not even sure what the position is going to be just yet, which I love what you said. We got to think about when we introduce this situation. Are we introducing a new situation very early on, and you're not even sure if this is a relationship? I think not. Am I introducing them while I'm dating and not in a committed relationship? So first thing is get through the relationship first, especially when you know your kids. The second thing is we talk about young children, but here's a set of kids that nobody ever talks about that Jason, they cause more hell than most people. And that's the adult children. The adult children, yeah. You and I understand. I got five. They not tiny humans. You got to give me another name
I
for them.
have three adults, and the rumor committee. I'm glad you said that. I want to, if I can just,
Go ahead. Yes, absolutely.
The rumor committee came to me and said, "Do you know your children got beef with you about dating?" I said, "Huh?" I said, "Huh?" Yeah, they had a whole conversation about you dating. I said, "I don't understand why." Because they already know how I am. I don't give a rat's booty if that don't bother me. I said, so long as it don't bother the son of man, then I don't think I don't care about how they feel. They ain't got
But they
to.
switch from
Yeah.
being, watch this, they adults and don't want you in their business, but they absolutely will sign off on your business. They which is
Well,
the part that's crazy
listen,
to me. My kids told
we
me
got a
I couldn't
two-way
have another
street.
relationship.
Look, we got a two-way street company over here. I'm not in your business, so stay on out of mine,
Well, my
please.
daughters, now I got 5 daughters. My daughters don't live. Okay, I know. Yeah, well,
Did y'all hear him say he got
you
five
ain't dealt with
daughters?
that yet. I know I did something wrong in my
Listen,
life. Jason, I did something wrong. I keep asking God, why don't you forgive me?
Brother.
he
Five.
lied. Five
Five
daughters?
daughters. I have five
That is
daughters.
definitely a disciplinary
Yeah,
action
I know
plan.
I did something. I did. I need Jesus. Trust me. But watch this now. My daughters today, it's been 4 years since the divorce, and today they're like, Dad, you don't need nobody else. So what you want me to do? You just want me to? You need to just live single till you die. That's what my daughter said. I'm like, ain't gonna happen because I ain't in your business. But what I'm saying is that let me end with this and give it back to you, Koffe. I have seen adult children destroy marriages, destroy relationships. I've seen adult children walk into house. Now you got your own house. I'm not talking about the ones that like you got that some of them live in. I'm talking about they got their
Oh, that's
own
right.
house.
That's right. God upset with you and Jason because he got all girls too.
No, stop.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got a son? Oh, you got a son
No,
in
he
it?
don't have no son.
I just borrow other people's son.
I'm done.
Okay, me too. I'm
I'm
trying to get me a
absolutely
few.
done. I'm
But what
done.
I'm saying is that I've seen adult children walk into their mama house. She got her newborn. You don't live there. You walk into the refrigerator. You ask them what the
Well,
whole.
hold on. Let me stop the car.
Oh
Let me
Lord.
stop the car. Now, I'm one of them kind of let me tell y'all how cold I am. So let me help them help themselves real quick while you on this train. I'm gonna get them off the tracks.
Get them off the track.
And let me tell you what I do when adult people leave my house.
Uh-oh.
Before I get them fired from the corporation, because I think like corporate America. I already had a locksmith on lockdown for the day when they getting removed from the company, and all the security systems codes been changed.
Yes. You just walk
So
in.
ain't nobody coming in Fort Knox without knocking.
Good move.
Oh, I don't play games. You don't get
Good.
to. You're intruding at that point, and you're an intruder. And here's the reason why. Let me say this: the reason why I'm so adamant about that, because you think this. I need you to think this way. What if one of your children lost the key, lost their wallet or something, and your keys to your property were in there, and the address and everything else, and then somebody comes and they just walk up in your house, and I'm gonna leave it there. You kind of visualize that. So
Well,
you definitely can't leave that kind of opening, because that's you're asking for a rat to come sitting up in your living room.
well, they can die just like the kid if they don't come in announcing themselves.
Well, in every situation, you may not. Well, I mean, and it's funny you say that, because guess what? If my door start opening, I don't have good sense. I'm really like, I was born in the murder capital of the world, so I'm always on alert, and not because I'm scared, but when you born into traumatic stuff like that, it's in your brain. So if my door, I'm gonna be I'm be, ooh, I'm Scarface around here. They're gonna be like, who in that house? The popo. I mean,
But
you
we
don't
have to
know.
have conversation with our adult children. I was laughing about Baby Boy, if you remember.
Oh,
The
but no,
and
but Ted Reeves was wrong for that dog. That
he,
was
but well, no, Mama should have checked that situation, and she did later on, but with an attitude. Because what she checked was, hey, this is my house. What she checked was, hey, this is my man. What she checked was, you got to grow up. And the reason why I say that is because we often talk about the young kids, but you know how many parents I have counseled that the older children has caused the issue. It isn't just the younger, it's the ones who say, this is my mama house, this is my daddy house. It's the ones that say, hey, you know what? I don't like you for my mama. I didn't know your mama was asking you. But when you talk about conversation, I think the conversation has to be across the board on all levels of children, especially when you're getting back into the dating world. That if you can, now if you like me and Coffee, my grown children don't tell me who to date and who not to date. But some people, they that situation has got to be on a sensitive level, and I think you should do it, because let me tell you this, Coffee. I know marriages or relationships that broke up because of the adult children. Back to you, Coffee.
yeah, because people don't want to deal with people. Don't. I
Nope.
ain't got to deal
They
with your
grown children.
children.
Nope.
Another thing too, because I mean, I really want to get this over to Lady Victoria. Another thing too, and I'm going to yield to Lady Victoria because this is really her segment tonight. One thing that I consider when you think about it is especially if it's older children, we need to head to counseling, because it's going to be some breaches that need to be repaired. It's going to be some problematic behavior. It's going to be some acting out. It's going to be a lot of different
You better
variables
believe
in
it.
that dynamic. When you got children that are teenagers and young adults, I've seen extremities, especially being in the high school and middle school. I was just in a middle school today and looking at how impressionable these young lives are. And you can imagine if I go, excuse me, to school and I tell my friend, well, my daddy left and he was there last week, and I know my mama had something to do with it because I don't like my mama anyway. So I'm going to automatically exert some kind of negative energy because I don't like my mom. I remember my daughter was talking to one of her friends and said, "Oh, I can't stand my mom." I said, "Hell, I feel the damn same way." And she looked at me. She said, "I didn't even know you were standing there." I said, "You should have been talking about me. Don't be popping off because I don't like you either." I said, "But I love you though." And I just walked off. And she said, she walked behind me. She said, "You really are crazy, ain't you?" I said, "Mhm. I had children. I got to be crazy. I gave birth to tiny humans. I have got to be out of my mind for even letting somebody put a whole tiny human inside of my body that grew and came out and was talking back to me. That is crazy." She's like, "Okay, Ma, I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm going to my room." I said, "I appreciate you going on a disciplinary action plan on your own reconnaissance, and I don't have to force the issue. Thank you. Because you just gave me what I wanted in the first place. Good night." It's on you, Lady Victoria.
Oh my God. Whew. Yes, the adult children oftentimes can be more problematic than your younger children. If you have children that are teenagers or preteens and lower, because they will oftentimes adjust. But your adult children, they sometimes have a tendency to get in your business. Now, I think I was blessed because my ex-husband, God rest his soul, when we separated, um, my younger children were teens and preteens, but I already had two adult children, and one lived out of state. So we didn't get to see each other that much. But I didn't ask for their permission when I was ready to enter into the dating scene again. I didn't feel that I owed them an explanation. I was ready. We had gone our separate ways. The ink was dry on the paper and all of that. So I didn't really ask for their permission. I did state when I wanted to bring him to meet my children. Now they're not crazy, so they figured out, that I was dating somebody. Somebody was in the picture, but nobody had been to my house. They hadn't seen anybody else in our home. So I kept it clean on that slate. But when I wanted him to meet my children, I told my children, I said, "Well, yes, I know that you all know that I'm dating," gave his credentials and all of that. He's an employed man. He has his own business, things like that. So those kinds of questions weren't valid where I was concerned, from them. They didn't need to ask me those questions because I freely gave them that information. So my son, who's a teenager at the time, my youngest son was a teenager at the time, he took to the gentleman very well, took to him very well. They were able to become friends. And to this gentleman's credit, he didn't come in trying to be their dad. He didn't come in trying to be their dad. He said, "Listen, my interest is in your mom. It'll be great if we can have a relationship." He said, "But I'm not trying to be your dad because you have a father, whether he's in your life or out." And, my ex, he was very active in my children's lives. So that wasn't an issue. He said, "But my interest is in your mom. She's my first priority." So he made them feel comfortable. And my children didn't have a problem with it. You know, the relationship ended after several years, um, and it impacted my children. It impacted their lives when it did end because he built a relationship with them, with my daughters and with my son. I got two and two.
And
He
that's
built
it.
a
Now,
relationship.
let's interject on that.
Yeah, go right there on
As
that part right
now,
there.
let me tell you, I was with the same guy. Jason rolled with me through this whole scenario. When after the children got grown, it just, and you know what's so interesting? I said, this reminds me of marriage. Because once the children got grown, it was like, what we gonna do? We really hadn't built the kind of bond that we thought we had. It was more in an outlet versus a bond, right? So when he and I dissolved our relational element, my oldest daughter went off. She said, "Oh, I don't know why you would do something like that because he been here and helped. He supported us." And I said, let me help you help yourself. I said, my mama name is Cynthia Ann, and I don't take support from people who I'm not engaged to or married to.
That part.
Don't nobody pay none of my bills but me and the Lord. Jason will tell you. Jason me and Jason been friends for over a dozen years. And Jason be getting on me. He be like, "Why you?" I said, "Oh no, ain't nobody gonna be lying on me, Craig. Talking about I owe nothing. I don't owe nothing but love, like the Bible say. I don't take sons of God, sons of man, money, because that ain't my money. Now that's just me. Now that's not a knock on nobody else's daughters. The daughters of Zion, y'all do what you do. But when I go to bed at night, I don't want nothing on my brain talking about how I'm gonna pay old boy $8,000 back and nope. Now Jason know how crazy I am. Dude say, "Hey, I want to invest in your company. All right, here's a contract. Go ahead and sign it." Well, no, I just want to invest in the company. Well, if you're an investor, whether you're silent or not, you got to do a contract because it covers you and me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to do a contract, then you don't want to invest. Have a good day, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And I keeps it moving.
So to
Now,
be in relation, wait.
no, listen. Whenever a guy gives me something, he gave it to me as a gift. I want to add
Okay.
this to you. I want to
I
give you.
thought it needed a contract to be in a
No.
relationship
I was
with you.
on no. I
Oh,
was
to do
no.
okay.
I'm talking about the response.
Right.
No, I'm talking about
I
the
know you're a boss, but Jesus,
no. I'm talking about I'm talking about my bills, the responsibility I had prior to
Yeah.
that man manifesting. I was gonna have to pay that with or without. I gotta have food, clothes, and shelter. Regardless of him being around, those responsibilities were already present. They didn't just pop up because this guy showed up. That don't make sense. So I can't just take out okay, you here now, so you gotta take care of all this. No, he don't, because that ain't he didn't build that. You built that. That's your Tonka truck.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
you know, I love what you said because, like you, my daughters, my oldest daughter, more specifically, because she was the one that they were like buddy buddy,
Mm-hmm.
and because the great part about it is he had children in the same age bracket, so they were very relatable. The scenarios, the behavior, the mannerisms, we were raising children parallel. So it was easy for them to forge a relationship with him. It was super easy because it's like, oh, he behaved as a father. Whenever we had Sunday dinner, he said, "I'm coming," because I'm a huge football fan, and he and I on opposite sides, rivalry teams. So I said, "Yeah, bring your stuff on over here so I can pop you off while yeah, come on with it." And the children say, "Oh, he coming over. Oh, we finna have dinner in the living room." And then he said, "No, we're not. No, we're not. We sitting at the table. But how we gonna see the game? After we eat dinner, so y'all better eat fast." Because he didn't believe in children sitting in front of TVs and eating and all that. Everybody had to sit at the table. And if we can't get a folding chair, do something, pull up. So I 100% agree with you on that. And honestly, I don't know if it's a good idea to drive a wedge in between that relationship or not. Claiborne?
I want her because she really hit a hard nail. I think that is a thin line, and I'm gonna tell you why. While I understand that the children have gotten attached to this relationship, you cannot make me stay connected to them because we are no longer together. He or she is not the real parent. And if I let y'all relationship stay together, what happens when I get someone else? Now I'm asking the new man or the new woman to not only deal with the ex-husband or wife, and in my case, don't have a few baby mamas. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying that every time. every time, And so now they got to deal with that. They got to deal with an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend. In my case, I got to ask this new woman. Now, Lady Victoria, is she crazy like Koffe? Can you imagine me asking Koffe, my new relationship, to deal with an ex-wife, several baby mamas, and this ex-girlfriend that was right before her. First of all, she ain't gonna sign up for that. And if she signs up for that, it's not going to be an easy situation. So while I understand with the kids, and I'm so glad that you woke that up, because how do you make that? That's a really thin line. But I think that here's a conversation. You have to put your foot down and say, "Why I understand that y'all grew to love him or love her. We're no longer together." And I think it's hard to pull young kids away, but I think you have to, because if you don't, now you're stuck. And watch this. He or she, if they really didn't want to leave, uses that as leverage, Jason, to stay connected to you. So if they didn't want to leave, and then they show up at the kids' games because, well, the kids want me here because I've been coming to the games all the time. We're in the reality, Lady Victoria, they want to see you. They want to see you, but so they use your kids, who is not their kids, as a leverage. So I think that you have to, and it's hard, and I have to say it, pull the band-aids, as Koffe said. Sometimes we can't ease this thing. You got to cut. For anyone that is listening, you have to cut. If that relationship is over with, it has to be over with you and your kids, because you have to protect your kids and your peace of mind. And if your future situation is coming in, you have to do that.
Now, here's the thing that y'all put your big girl panties on, and if you need to go get a joint, or get you some wine or something, because I'm about to go gangster on you. That ain't my business about adults connecting to each other. I don't care how they met. That ain't my problem. So I'm not gonna let it be my problem. If they come in, like I'm telling you, because we both from the Midwest. I told him, I said, hey, listen, you and my children are cool with each other, and y'all really are cool with each other. Like, to this day, they cool for real, for real. I said, y'all coolness better not never get me hot, which means that I'm going to keep controlling the narrative. I'm not going to put that in nobody else's hands. I'm going to have a conversation with all y'all wonderful adult people who feel that y'all want to stay connected. God bless all y'all. It's a blessing for y'all all to want to be connected. However, if it's going to affect me in any regard, in any capacity, in any way, shape, or form, to where it's going to cause some form of a problem for me and my new man, I'm gonna act like I don't know none of y'all. I turn off phones, I'm gangster. I'm not gonna stop living my life with someone because y'all got blockage issues. Go take some enemas and find your way out my life. I'm telling you, I don't play those games. My children, I wish I had a witness in here because everybody gone. They know that I don't have a tolerance to answer to no children. I don't answer to children. That I told my son one day, I looked up his birth certificate. Look, Claiborne, my son said something crazy to me. I said, hold on a minute. Let me go upstairs. I'm gonna be right back. He said, what's wrong? I said, nothing. I just give me 60 seconds. I'll be right back. I go up the stairs. I look in the birth. I got the thing with the birth. I said, let me see who mama is who. Hold on. Let me find the daddy's too. Hold on. Let me look in there. I came back downstairs. I said, hey, read this. What it says, who born who? He looked at me. He said, yeah, you really are crazy. I said, you're damn right. And so are you. I said, you can't come to me and tell me how to do something that I've been living on the planet twice the time as you. So what constitutes you having the ability to suggest to me how to do something that you ain't even had enough time to physically do? You ain't been here. You didn't even exist in the earth. So how about you back that thing up, get the hell out of my face? And he just gave me some dap. He said, all right, cool. And walked on by. It's the problem is we're not setting our houses in order. Whatever that means. We're not setting them in order to where there's not there's no conflict and chaos and confusion and all this kind of stuff and calamity and casualties and all this kind of stuff. We're not setting these boundaries and creating these boundaries to where everybody is clear as to what is going to be what. And don't
Right.
cross your own boundary. You set
Right.
that boundary and you don't even get a chance to cross it.
Right. I absolutely agree with what you said, Coffee, and with what you said also, Claiborne. But I would say that every situation, every person has to navigate their own situation. Okay. And you have to make a decision what is going to be the healthiest route after the breakup for your children, for yourself. You first, your children too. So you have to set those boundaries that Coffee was saying. Very valid point, because not everybody has a breakup protocol. People got a date protocol, but they don't have a breakup protocol. What happens when we're no longer together? What was the breakup like? Was it good? Was it bad? Or was it just ugly? Was it nasty? How are your children going to be affected by that? Now, in my case, it was different because the gentleman and I were able to have sit down and have a conversation. We both knew that the relationship, as good as it was for as long as it was no longer that. And I wasn't going to have it be ugly in front of my children. So we were able to sit down and have a conversation and come to an agreement and say, hey, the relationship part is over. But he would always say, but we're still family. We're always going to be family. I'm always going to look after you. I'm always going to look out for you. That's why I'm, hey, go in and live your life and do what it is you want to do. I'm not interested in hanging on, because saying at that address, I paid the bills. When nobody else paying the bills. I paid the rent. I paid the light. I paid the gas. I paid the car note. I paid the insurance. I bought the groceries, because I'm not going to be indebted to you. And I didn't want to set a seemingly example for my children that this is how it works. Uh-uh. No, you pay the bills. It's my house. So I pay the bills there. So when we went our separate ways, we went our
I love
way.
it.
And he would call every now and again. He would call and say, hey, can I just come by and see the kids? Are they at home? Like I said, they were preteens and teenagers. So he did that for a minute, but that whittled on down. And when it was done, it was done. And my children understood that. We had the conversation. Hey, we were dating, but we're not dating anymore. Maybe we can be friends. We'll be friends for as long as this works. And we were until then. But I say everybody make a choice and a decision for yourself, and find out what your breakup protocol looks like, especially when your children are involved, whether they're young or whether they are your adult children. Get it straight before it's over, because you don't want anybody hurt, especially my children. I don't want my children hurt. I'm not going to stand for that. I'll get you on out of the picture. And if I need some help, I know where to go to get that help, get you out. So that was my scenario. But I think people oftentimes don't think about that, because it's very valid what you were saying. How are you going to get the new person to adjust to all these people?
That's too many souls to deal with. I ain't got to
It
deal with all
is.
the souls.
It
That's a
is.
lot.
And I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
That's too much to contend with for anybody. I would not ask any human to step into Pandora's box on purpose.
Mm-mm.
You
And I,
asking me to step into a bunch of chaos, calamity, and confusion that I'm not a part of that. And that's not fair. Like I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I'm gonna give y'all a perfect example. I made a decision for my business to dissolve a partnership based on the terms of the partnership. So the other individual wanted to be hasty and said, no, let's just dissolve it now. I said, nope, I respectfully declined, because we have a partnership. And because you and I agreed to a term and condition, and I stayed within the terms and conditions, and you tried to step out of it, nah, buddy, you don't. No, I own a company. You don't get to step out because you want to step out. That's why we got an agreement. That's why we both signed on the dotted line saying that this is what we agreed to. So no, sir. God bless you. But no, either you're going to buy me out or we're going to dissolve this the way it says in the terms and conditions. Now, the reason why I said that is because we have such a proclivity to do something opposite of what we said we were going to do. No, it is what it is. And we got to be realistic, and this is why I'm gonna tell y'all, me and my guy, we did something really, really interesting today. And it's funny, he said, I was thinking about it, but I didn't want to say it to you because women have a tendency to take stuff personal. And he said, I'm not suggesting that you would, but y'all do. It said just as a unit, that's just a woman thing. Y'all get emotionally connected to everything. And I told him, I said, wow, I respect what you're saying. All of us aren't created equally. So some of us have learned and matured enough to literally be able to accept something that we don't want to accept. But we're going to talk to our girlfriend about it, but I'm not going to say nothing to you about it, kind sir. I have learned not to do that because because I don't want to give him that energy. I don't want to give that to somebody. I want to keep my stuff 110. I want you to think that I'm okay. But I'm still a woman. So you better believe I'm talking to my homegirl, my one homegirl, not all my homegirls. But I don't talk about nothing in the bedroom to nobody. That ain't your business. But when it comes to something like that, I'm going to need an outlet. I'm going to talk to him and listen to what he has to say and respectfully, move back however he asks. But I got something to say. I'm a girl, period. But I ain't going to say it to him. So he going to think I got good sense. He going to think that, but I'm really upset and I'm hurting. But I don't want to cause the situation to get out of control. Because, Victoria, the moment you say one thing, the son of man be like, okay, you popping off. Then it goes way over here, out of town, over to your cousin's house, way past your grandmama's house, 25 miles back over there. And it was just not even necessary. Excuse me, I could have addressed the feminine stuff with a female and left him out of it.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Jason, I don't know if you share, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say in a scenario like that.
Honestly, this is probably one of the first times I haven't really said much of anything this whole time. But I mean, once you get back out there and start dating, especially when you have kids involved, I mean, that just kind of goes with the adage, don't rush to have the person you're dating meet your kids, because there's a lot more that goes into it than just meeting the kids. Like you said before, what if they hit it off real nicely and then things start not working out between you and that individual? Now, kids are vested. You no longer are. You got that challenge. So, and even more so when you have grown kids, because I guess it was Teresa Bryan said to him, yep, my kids said they don't want me to remarry. Who are they to make the damn decision? They're not. You know what I mean? You do what you got to do for yourself. But if you let your kids run your life, I mean, isn't that almost kind of like the inmates running the prison? At least should, right? So, I mean, you just got to take care of home first. I mean, that's at the end of the day, you got to take care of home. I mean, if you have younger kids, you got to protect them, but you also got to protect yourself. If you have older kids, I mean, you can listen to what their opinions are, but at the end of the day, it's just an opinion.
Agreed. So that I wanted to ask the other question too, and I think we've really probably already covered that territory. How involved should the children be in the divorce between the two parents?
I'm gonna say this. That is based upon how much they've been involved in the marriage. So if you've had, there's this one couple that I really admire how they addressed their dissolved relationship for two reasons. The first reason is at the time of the dissolution, they had to move to another state. Okay. So they had no, it was no option. They had to move to another state. So what ended up happening was The guy told the lady, he said, listen, what I'm willing to do is move to that same state where you're going to take my children, because I refuse to not be a father to my children. So he said, I am open. I will move to that state. He said, secondly, I will buy you a home in my name, and we'll put it on a divorce decree that I'm responsible for the mortgage only. I'm not paying nothing else but the mortgage, because their children are real young. They're like 8 and 9. So they got several years before they're even old enough to do anything else, right? Then he said, I will rent an apartment within a 2-block proximity, 2 to 4 block proximity, so that there'll be easy access in case of an emergency. Talk about maturity.
Wow, yes.
And he said, what I don't want to happen is that you feel like you don't have what you need. I feel like I don't have what I need, and definitely the children not having what they need. Like, and it's a beautiful scenario, because he literally, I was there, I witnessed it. He said, I have to go take mangoes to the children because they love to eat mangoes, and this one's ripe. So I'm going over there with them for the next few hours. And I just said, dude, that is so commendable. How the two of you have come together to resolve this. He said, yeah, because our children expect us to do that. And we set them up, and we set the conversations up for them to expect us to do this, which is work together. And I said, you don't find that a lot. You don't find people, because people be all in their feelings, you know. Now, there was a catalyst to it, Lady Victoria. He said him and her went through extensive counseling for a year before they presented anything to the children, because they was mad as hell with each other. And they had to hash out their stuff so that they did not bleed out on the children, so much so that it would have been 20, 30 years for them to recover. Go ahead, Claiborne.
That is, you have to involve kids, because you don't want to leave, even if it's not as much because they wasn't involved in the marriage, but they are involved in the marriage. If the kids are born in the marriage, they are involved in the marriage. They don't know what's going on in mom and daddy's room, but they're involved in the marriage. And you get ready to change the dynamic that they have grown up under. They've grown up under a 2-parent home. Whether daddy was present, but he was there. He came home, even if he was not as active. And if he was an active father, like at the games and all that, you know, you getting ready to have because remember, and Koffe and I say this all the time, divorce is a death. Death has a grieving process. Real death, whether it's losing your parents, losing your kids, death has a grieving process. It has upset. I'm angry. I'm hurt. It could go into depression. Death in itself has a grieving process. So if in fact that we say divorce is like a death, you have got to give space for the grieving process that you are going to go through. And now, as Koffe said, I got to now also pay attention to these people, because in my grieving, whether it's an angry moment or a crying moment or a depressed moment, because anytime you go through a divorce, I don't care if it's the divorce that you was like, I need this divorce to happen. When it really actually happened, when you really sat on the dotted line, it still is a hurtful piece that you are getting divorced. It's not about the person sometimes, because sometimes you're so glad to be done with them, but that the fact is that no one goes down the aisle with divorce on their mind. Then, if children
we hope that no one goes down the aisle.
Well, I mean, I think I am in the next time. I'm going with divorce already on my mind. That way I can go ahead and spell it already out from the door that, we may not make it. And I'm going already. I'm going already with papers already to sign. I'm doing a protocol, as Lady Victoria said. I'm going with this. Cause I ain't getting tricked in this. I ain't getting duped this time. This time I'm going in it from the door. We ain't gonna make it, so we just gonna enjoy the time that we gonna be with while we together. That Jason, pray for your boy. I'm going in. I'm tired of these people. I'm tired of the daughters of God. And they ain't always the daughters of God. Sometimes they is Satan's little helpers. But anyhow, so here you go, Lady Victoria. You have to involve these kids, and you got to watch them. Because remember, we say this: everybody handles situations different.
Mhm.
So you might have a child that's dealing with, maybe I am the cause. So you
Mhm.
might have to reassure that child that they are not the cause. But if
Mhm.
they heard something behind closed doors in midst of anger, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
have married you in the first place if you didn't have this child. Now that person might not have really meant it, but if that child heard that, that could weigh on that child. So now you got to check to make sure. You got to also check that I've been raised in a family. I know somebody's dealing with the child is dealing with depression. They're dealing with depression right now because the child is dealing with, all my friends still got their two parents and I don't. So that's another whole.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to involve counselors. You're gonna have. I know people that think they can handle it on their own, but you're gonna have to involve therapy because divorce is a very serious thing. I've been through it. I promise you, it hurt a lot more people. Let's just be honest. In our selfishness about ourselves, we don't even think about the tiny little people that's got to deal with this whole situation. And don't mess around and somebody go through that one period, the angry period,
Hmm.
and she won't have, or he or you got to dissolve it as the corporation, as Coffee said. But dissolving the corporation may not be an easy situation. So now y'all trying to split up everything, and you got to split up half, and don't mess around and be a baby situation. And now she mad. Now she taking you to the court for
Mhm.
child support. You do remember that if you go to court for child support, you're gonna have to bring those tiny humans with you.
Mm.
Yes, sir.
And those tiny humans are going to have to sit there and listen to you talk about their parent.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have to sit there and let you say negative things, because that's the only way the court is gonna be on your side. They're gonna have to listen to you say that their father or their mother, however word that, but most of the time the father didn't do anything for the kids, and the kids are looking. I remember my daughter, and that's why I didn't have it, because my daughter was like, "Wait, mom, wait." One of my daughters, she said, "Wait, I didn't know you were bringing me down here for this. So you
Hmm.
brought me down here to speak, because they're gonna ask the kids. So you brought me down here to speak ill about my father, that I don't got nothing ill to say about him." So we, again,
Hmm.
you are talking about people. We never involve any of the Coffee. We never think about none of that. We are
Hmm.
selfish in the divorce, and I gotta be honest, because I know too many people. I counsel too many couples, and I
Well,
tell them all the time.
I told you
We
that
are,
was an exception. I said it was an exception.
yeah. You got to, Lady Victoria. If you don't, you got to, and don't have a bunch of kids, because if you got more than one child, you guys do, so you know this. I know every one of my children, and every child is not the same.
That's
So
right.
you got to look at it. So some child may say, Coffee oldest may say, "Mom, I don't even care about it. Like, you and Dad ain't getting together, okay." But that middle child might be like, still dealing, and you said it earlier, Coffee. They start acting up. And you think the acting up is for one reason, and the acting up may absolutely be this child been having straight A's in school, and now all of a sudden this child's a problematic child in the school, and you
Mhm.
think they just being rebellious. It's very possible that they angry about the divorce. So, Lady
Right.
Victoria, from Claiborne, you got to involve the kids, and even at that is not a full guarantee, Jason, that it's going to be a smooth ride. But you got to
Right.
involve the kids.
Right. I absolutely agree with that. You do have to involve the children. And to add to what you said, you need to know the temperament of each one of your children. I had four of them. And so I had to weigh the temperament of each child, the impact on each child, which one was going to be able to stand through this, and which one would end up on the floor weeping. And I had to deal with them accordingly. And that's how I did it. You can't do a general sweep and say, oh, well, they are my children. They are going to be okay. They might not be. They might not be. Therapy, counseling, whatever it is you need to do to make your children whole again after the divorce, during the divorce, do that. Do that. It's critical to their emotional and their mental health. And see, we forget also, Claiborne, that we carry these things over into our children, carry these things over into adulthood. They carry it over into adulthood, and it becomes it becomes a template for them to measure how marriages work and how they don't work, what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And if all of their friends are in the same boat as they are, their friends' parents are divorced, that's their template for life. So this is what they're measuring it by. And we have to consider all of those elements and so many more when we're going through divorce. Then the divorce is final and we're getting back into the dating game. There's a lot of things that we should consider. Your children are very young. There's a way to introduce them to divorce where they can understand it on their level. I remember that I had to go to the library and find this videotape of what's the name of that kid's show? Arthur. Remember Arthur or Arthur and Friends or what have you? But Arthur's best friend's parents got divorced. It's a cartoon. I showed it to my youngest child because she could understand it on that level. But then my teenage child understood it on a different level. My adult child understood it on a yet different level. So there's no blanket approach to this, and we have to be more considerate of them than we are of ourselves. And I think Jason, you wanted to add something.
I mean, yeah. I am the product of divorced parents that happened back like in the first grade and stuff. And one of the things that I try to let parents know is that whether your relationship is going good or bad, those kids feel that energy. So
Mm-hmm.
if it does start going bad, they're going to notice that energy even more. Then they're going to really start paying attention to how you and your spouse talk to each other, how y'all treat each other, what's actually being said. So I agree with all of y'all. Yes, you need to include them in the fact that there was a decision made that that relationship was going to dissolve. Now, once y'all make that announcement to the kids, you got to understand that they're going to have feelings about that as well. If you have young kids, one of the first things that they're probably going to think is, I'm losing my mom or I'm losing my dad or whatever else, so you're going to have to help them get through that psychologically, because I remember when I found out my parents were getting divorced, and actually they did their best not to fight in front of me, and I respect that. But I remember when I first heard about it, just being a kid and what you know of divorce and everything else when you're 6, 7 years old, is that somebody's going away. You're losing someone, may never see them again. You're not thinking they're going to move to the next neighborhood over. You're not going to see this person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, as parents, and I respect my parents for doing this as well, even in the first grade, they gave me the option. It's like, well, would you like to stay with me or would you like to stay with your dad or this, that, and the other? Let's just be honest. Most of the time, that option is never given to the kid. They never even ask. It's pretty much, I birthed this kid. The kid is coming with me. You ain't crap. I'll see you in court. And I mean, just being honest, that's not always the case, but most of the time that's the case. And now that's where, as Claiborne was talking about, that you got the parents biting at each other, because now you got to go to court and present a case on why you're a better parent than the other spouse, than your spouse or ex-spouse, and your kids get to sit there and hear all of that.
And people, this is a whole lot to unpack. You can't unpack it in an hour. I got to think about this because y'all done took it to a whole. I'm gonna publish a book. I ain't gonna even say what the title is for this because it just came to me while we're talking.
Get your keyboard ready, Jason.
You know why, Koffe? Because we never looked at it. What we are talking about, I've been to divorce court. I've sat there for a child support proceeding, and I've seen this pain. I've seen people overlook children in the divorce process. I've seen us as adults be selfish about our own emotions and forget about the tiny humans that we have together. Forget about that just because you think he ain't no good, maybe they kids didn't see dad like that. They didn't see it. Bishop Jake said something that I will always stand on. He might not have been a good husband, but don't mean he's not a great father. And you can't make that decision, as Jason just said, for the kids by doing. My daughter said something that I will always hold on as long as I live, because her mother would try to say negative things about me and try to get her to hate me. One of my twins, I have a set of twins, and she said something to her mother one day as she became 17, 18, 19, in her bold statement. She said, "Mom, are you telling me to hate half of me? Because half of me is you and half of me is him. Half of me is my dad. I got his height. I got his accent." She began to break it down. She said, "So every time you tell me over the years," and I never got a chance to tell, but I'm telling you now, every time you try to tell me to hate dad, I look in the mirror and what you're telling me is hate half of me." That right there, I don't know where she got that from, Lady Victoria, but that right there blew my mind, because Jason, I never looked at it that way. While we know scientifically and all that but we never thought about that when you're putting, these kids are going through this divorce with you. Let me say it that way. You go through this divorce, your children go through the divorce with you. And we have got to be more conscious. I think the young lady said earlier, we have got to, which is a hard piece, because divorce is a death and you're going through a grieving. We have got to check our own emotions at the door and look after our kids. You said, Lady Victoria, we got to protect our kids. Jason said, we got to protect our kids. But him and I both 100% agree that is rare that people put their own feelings aside to look after them and say, "Hey, I'm not going to trash you." My kids have never heard me talk bad about their mothers or about any exes. I don't do it because I don't want to be the person that makes my child go through this whole mental situation of wondering, why is this happening? Because as Jason said, he's in the first grade. Wait, what is going on? I'm little, but what is happening here? Like, my mom and dad is over with. Like, how do you process that as a first grader? That's your mom and dad. No matter what your mama tell you, you cannot. Koffe is a teacher. She helps these kids. She always talk about they can't process stuff the way we think that they are. You can't assume that your kids got it. They don't got it. They don't got that. My dad, because as Jason said, your thought is he get ready to go to the moon. My mama get ready. I'm about to never see them again. And both parents have got to put their little selfishness to a side. Both, because here's the thing, Lady Victoria, and I'm giving it back to you. This can't be a one-person conversation. This cannot be all the weight on the parent that's there. Both parents have got to sit down and they got to talk to these kids and they got to reassure these kids, when you over here, I'm still your dad. I may not be in the house, but I am still your dad. I'm still your mom. I'm going to be here. When they come over the house, we're not talking about what's going on over there. We're going to have great time here together. Are y'all enjoying? And it should be a relationship, which I know Koffe, they don't do this, but it should be a relationship where it's a constant conversation. Mom can pick up the phone and be like, "Let me tell you what they're doing at school." So now the kids feel like they're both are always involved. My baby girl mother, and you've heard a couple on Clubhouse. One of the things that we got assured is that every part of my child's life, she made sure my child know, I'm about to tell your dad about this, whether it was good or bad. You got good grades, I'm gonna tell him. You got bad grades, I'm gonna tell him. And she kept me in the loop in front of the child, so that the child always know my mom and dad is always involved with my life. You can't get mad and stay home. You can't get mad and not go to the games. We got to do better than this, because if we don't, we're going to raise up more, as you just said, Lady Victoria, dysfunctional adults who will be 30, who will be 40, who will be 50 years old, and they still are dealing with childhood issues, traumas that they never got right.
Got a question. I want to dig in even deeper to what you were just talking about. Anybody ever think for a second, what happens when you're downing or disrespecting your ex-spouse and your kid looks like them?
All right.
The
So
favorite hood, the
Yeah,
hood line. You look like your mama.
it's
You
not
look like your
okay.
daddy.
It's
somebody might.
oh, it's 9:07. So we're over by 7 minutes.
Yes.
We're gonna table that for the next episode of the hot seat because as you can
Sure.
see, the seat is very hot at this point. Somebody is burning up. Somebody is
Yes.
burning up. Okay. So we're gonna be back, and Lady Victoria is going to drive the car next time with the everything's gonna be working. We're gonna speak it into existence that all technology will be working.
Yes.
Because I can see it at this point. When he said that, I got to go. I gotta go. I can't even stay for that. I can't stay. I can't even stay because he right.
We got the after service. Oh, we got a benediction already. We got the after service. We got the
No,
whole
no, no.
after
This,
fellowship. How we start a
no,
benediction on this?
no. I'm similar to Oprah. We don't go over.
So we at the Power Claiborne when church is over and everybody that shook the preacher's
I'm gonna
hand, but
still
you
be
still
there.
in the
I'm gonna still be
congregation.
there. I'm gonna
You're
still be
still
there.
in the auditorium
I'm
talking to
still
the
like,
other congregation.
why are we going home? Like they done turn off the lights on me and everything, and I'm still there. And you know, listen, can y'all call me early for the church so I can be here before time? Cause I got things to talk about. And you know, it's been a minute. I ain't been here because Koffe, you know, she little.
I want you to say it on international.
I
I want you to say it.
thought about it. I said, rewind.
Please don't do that on international TV. Call me. You got the number.
I would
Thank
call
you.
you. Yeah, okay.
All right. All right, everybody. So
We're
thank you.
8 minutes over, so I yield to you, Koffe. We're gonna close on that.
Right. Thank you so much for tuning in and tapping into this week's chaotic edition of the hot seat because Troublemaker was present with us. Amen. And it's my fault. I asked him to be in trouble. I asked for trouble. And this is what I got. Trouble. That's what I asked for. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, y'all. So we will see you guys on the next edition of the hot seat. Listen, he'll be back for sure because he already started a fire and he's gonna have to come back and put it out. Good night, everybody. Enjoy the balance of your evening, and we will see you all on next weekend. Next week. Peace.